biology students, and today I'm going to talk about part D, the final part of our cricket lab. So today is Thursday, so you should have completed that part C, that graphing component, so completing your data for your air temperature, and then you should have gone ahead and put it in a graph form similar to like this on using that application Graphical Analysis, which requires you to download the app on your Chromebook. So you should have answered these questions. So today we're going to focus on part D, on drawing a conclusion. So we're going to go ahead and look at that today. Okay, so there are three parts that we're going to look at today. In order to draw a conclusion, we're going to want to create a claim evidence reasoning statement. So in order to do that, and as you may have learned in middle school, writing a claim evidence reasoning requires us to think about what happened in our experiment. So for our claim, we want to use one complete sentence, use descriptive words, and answer the question. So essentially our guiding question that we were trying to figure out. So our guiding question, if we recall back to the beginning, was, our guiding question was, so what environmental factors impact the chirping rate of crickets, and specifically, how does changing temperature impact the chirp rate of crickets? So that's specifically what we were trying to answer. So now we can go ahead and write about it in our claim from what we saw in our data. So this is going to be different depending on what your data was. Everyone had different data, picked different data points. So go ahead and write your claim right now. So essentially we can answer temperature blank went up or went down, went up / went down, chirp rate blank went up or went down, whatever you saw. So that's what you're going to put there. Okay. Next, we want to use specific data evidence, and we want to include observations of quantitative data, actual numbers that we found. So we want to go ahead and include accurate, sufficient, and appropriate evidence. So we wouldn't want to cite how in our background research that crickets were said to have magical powers in Africa, because that wouldn't be appropriate or relevant evidence to talk about how chirp rate is impacted by temperature. So when temperature goes up, answer this. What happens to cricket chirping? It could stay the same, it could go down, or it could go up. So go ahead and figure out which one of those was applicable to you. The same here, when temperature goes down, the cricket chirping, does it stay the same, go up, or go down? When the humidity goes down, the cricket chirping does which? When atmospheric pressure goes up, cricket chirping does which? Figure out which one. When the number of crickets nearby decreases, the cricket chirping does which? So figure that out. And then wind speed increasing, the cricket chirping does which? Now you can recall back in our data that you were given 4 of these independent variables, the data for them. So we saw that for these, as we change the values, what's happening to cricket chirp rate. So go ahead and you interpret those evidence responses from your actual data. Now here, they want us to give when the temperature is 22 degrees Celsius, the number of chirps is what? So we got to think about that. The number of chirps, we're going to actually go ahead and enter the data here. So if we have 22 degrees Celsius, the number of chirps by using our simulation is going to be 126. So you would go ahead and figure that out. You would need to use your virtual lab for that. And then I won't give you this one, but how many is it? Figure that out using that simulation. And lastly, our reasoning has 3 components. We want to talk about a scientific principle and what it states in our first statement. The scientific principle states Then we want to use actual evidence to show or to demonstrate what the evidence shows about how air temperature impacts cricket rate, and therefore we will restate our claim. So for the scientific principle, we could maybe think about what we learned in our research. The scientific principle states that crickets chirp during mating season. So how might temperature impact mating season? And perhaps in warmer temperatures, they are more active or mating more frequently. So this is just one possible response. I'd like you to pick your own. So essentially talk about a scientific principle that relates to the crickets that you've learned about in the research. For example, if we were talking about finches in the Galapagos, we might cite Darwin's theory of evolution because that's a relevant scientific principle related to the topic. Now, our evidence shows perhaps as temperature increases from 22 to 25 degrees Celsius, then cricket chirp rate went blank. So did it stay the same, go up, or go down? So pick one and use your own data points for this, whatever data you chose to use. So we want actual data there. Make sure you have actual data, and therefore restate your claim. So your claim is up here. So you'll go ahead and restate that. Therefore, as temperature blank does what? Chirp rate blank, and what does it do? So make your claim and then use that once again in your kind of conclusion. And I would also like you to include kind of because why does it do that? So kind of that if then because type thing. As temperature goes up or goes down, chirp rate goes up or goes down or stays the same. Because why do we think? All right, and that is going to be the final day of our Cricket Lab. You're going to go ahead and hit the gray turn-in box, and everybody's responses are going to look different here, and I want them to look different. So don't copy off of your neighbor, please. All right, so this is due Monday, and you shouldn't have any homework for the weekend if you've completed this on the day that it was listed on the calendar. All right, so and once again, the calendar is right here, and the explanation videos are here. Have a great day, everyone. Take care.